Well, girls, welcome to the next episode of The Breeze. And, I got to tell you, I traveled a little bit over the holidays and I was in an airport. And, airports are the new bus station, okay? You can see all sorts of people dressed all sorts of ways. And I found myself kind of judging and being, look at that person, and that person, that person does this, that person's not dressed well. And then my wife's looking at me like I got three heads. And I said, you know what, you're right. I am being negative. And I don't want to be negative. I want to be positive. I want to be a happy person. And, in this world today where we get a lot of negativity on Facebook and so on, do you live in a negative environment? And what do you do about it?
I don't think I live in a negative environment at all.
Okay.
I can tell you, though, that it's easy to switch over to that if I become really irritated or disappointed about something. But I guess I try to see it as positive. Maybe that's kind of Pollyanna, but, let it be good as long as it can be good. If it goes wrong, then deal with it then.
Well, okay. Well, how about you, Tina?
I kind of think of it in terms of picking your battles.
Okay.
Is this something I should get upset about, or something I should just let, as happens, as they say?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that attitude keeps me from having so many wrinkles.
Really? Well, that's very optimistic. I like that. Well, Margie, what about the glass half full?
Oh yeah. Cheers, everyone. This is familiar as not a proverb. It's just kind of it's not in scripture. It's just sort of something we've all grown up with, right? Whether the glass is half full or half empty.
Right.
And if we see it as half full, then we're considered optimistic.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If we're pessimisms, that's not a
Pessimists,
word, but pessimists, then it's half empty. Mm-hmm. So, I grew up with that expression.
Yeah,
and I expect that meant my mother and father did, and maybe even grandparents. It's been around a long time. And I was looking at the origin of that, and it's interesting because some give credit to Ronald Reagan in a New York Times article in 1985 for referencing this expression. And yet the Peace Corps had an ad in 1933 for potential employees, and they used it.
Uh-huh.
And they said, if your glass is half empty, don't apply. If you have a glass that's half full, come on and help.
But isn't it all about attitude? How you carry your attitude in general. I could look at a situation and something happened, and I can belabor the negative parts of it, or I can say, but look, this is what happened. This is what resulted because of that. And I don't think that's being Pollyanna. Again, I think it's choosing your battles and choose to be up or down.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you ever walk around or drive around in your golf cart or car or Sun City and you see people jogging, walking, apparently out to invigorate with the biggest frowns on their face, or walking their dog? They're not happy about walking their dog. They're just frowning and nasty. And, it gives you the impression that, you're so troubled. You're so troubled. Why are you like that? And I don't know. I come to the situation here relatively carefree, but a lot of people seem to be just overburdened. And I don't know what to do about that other than just be pleasant.
Well, I think, depending upon the closeness to that how close you are to that person, you might want to inquire.
Go to Marge or stay here.
I saw something on Facebook yesterday.
Marge.
A friend of mine who was in a deep depression,
Uh-huh.
and she had a laundry list of things that she could use. And I know her. I hadn't talked to her in a while, and I knew that she had been prone to deep depression. And she's much younger than I, but it broke my heart. So my point is, there might be somebody around you that's dealing with something like that. And sometimes just asking the question and giving them the opportunity to speak, and you become that listener, I think is very important.
Do you think that intervening in somebody's personal situation is offensive?
No, I feel that I have a license because we're in a certain situation to ask the question. You have the right to say, none of your business, or we'll talk about it another time. And I think that's okay. But at least I tried. I made the effort, because sometimes people are so afraid, they're in their comfort zone, they don't want to take that chance.
Well, what's the worst thing you can say to a depressed, angry,
Oh,
sad person?
don't be depressed. You've got so much to be grateful for.
Yeah.
I don't
that's-
want to hear that.
No, none of us do. I
No,
think that is
no.
one of the worst things. Or let me tell you about my day. You know, that's not what they're looking for. And but you know, we have to remember that it's very easy to respond that way, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, we talked to some people on the street, and we'll show some answers they gave about what their remedy was for being down or depressed, and had some very interesting answers.
If I don't like someone for something they said, I just try to think, well, this guy is just another guy like me, probably has some problems, you know, and I let it go. And this has been a big thing about happiness. There was a guy named Nelson Mandela. You remember him? He was interred for, I don't know, for about 16 years. When he got out, he said he wouldn't hold any resentments, because to hold resentments is like him drinking poison and then waiting for the other guy to die.
Formula for staying positive and happy.
Music, making music, singing music, and listening to music.
My formula for staying happy and positive is to enjoy what we have here. I love to work out. I love to walk. I love to play golf. I love to bicycle. My wife likes it here. She can still cook for me. That's all it takes.
Being retired helps, but I also work 2 days a week. I'm a physical therapist, and I enjoy being with my coworkers and my patients. And I like to play golf, and I love this place. And it's nice to be here from Syracuse, where there's no snow here.
I have inner peace. I do yoga at home. I'm very happy and content. I feel very lucky to be alive and in good health and in good shape. And I work at it, and I'm never bored, and I'm always happy. I'm happy to be alive.
What is your formula for staying positive and happy?
I walk a lot. Walking and staying active is extremely important.
I'm a firm believer in exercise, definitely. The more you work out, the better you'll feel. I've been doing it now for about 35 years, and it's worked for me.
Seems to me that you can deal with your own depression by doing a couple things. Taking care of yourself, okay, so that you're not subject to aches and pains and agony and so on. What else?
Well, again, an attitude adjustment. Doing things, what is your happy? What makes you happy? You know, that retro thought or retro look that you had, or that retro period in your life when you were the happiest, extract from that. You know, think about it. You know, when you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? You know, what are the things you like about what you see?
Well, I like that. How about you, Margie? You got any specific thoughts
Well, I think you have to affirm that they're a special person regardless of how they feel. Now, this is my social work training coming up.
Oh, here we
okay?
go.
Boy, here we
Here
go.
we
There
go. But, you know, we kind of have to do it in kind of a, is there anything I can help you with? You know, would it help to talk about it? We can't solve it. We may not be able to cheer them up. We don't want to take it on as our own problem now.
No.
But I think just to let them know, gosh, I'm sorry to hear that, or you look really down today. And maybe just through talking through it a little bit, it might just take some of the pressure off. We don't know how close they are to that pressure, just, you
Yeah.
know?
You got to remember, this is coming from a lady who wants to go into Dunkin' Donuts Christmas morning and look for lonely people and cheer them up. But I think it's important. Two things. Number one, when you're dealing with somebody who's obviously stressed, is to be ultra pleasant to them. You know, maybe even a little compliment thrown in. You're dealing with the people at the golf shop where the computer isn't working. Just say, you know, I'm in no hurry. Try to be nice. Don't say don't say I know you're frustrated. Get out of it. Try to be ultra nice, and maybe that'll soften it up a little. The other thing is, and this is a personal pet peeve of mine in Sun City, is that there's an old adage, and Tina, you'll be all over this, I know, and that
boy.
is,
That's a setup.
if you look good, if you feel good about the way you look and how you present yourself, then you feel better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It works, guys. It works. You know, I look around when I go out and about. My mother always told me, you never know who you're going to meet when you're out there, so look decent. And you know the other one that I can't mention right now,
okay.
yeah, about the clean, you know.
Yeah. Clean your toes.
But my point is, like when I travel, I always try to look nice. And it's amazing the response I get from strangers, even from the flight attendants. Gee, you look nice today. And guess what? I get smiles, I get better service, sometimes I get comps, you know. And it's a part of my attitude. And I feel that I try to impart that on other people. I've gone around in the store and people say, "Oh, you're smiling," you know, like, well,
Yeah.
what are my choices?
What's the alternative, right?
You know, and if I see somebody with a scowl, I'm going like, I don't really want to talk to them, or I don't even want to look at them.
Marge?
Well, my day goes better if in the morning I get up and I put on makeup,
Yeah.
even if I'm going to stay home. And it's almost like, you know, what do they call it about fake it? You can make it if you fake it.
Fake it till you make it.
But
yeah.
to me, it means, okay, I'm not hiding behind anything today. Well, I am. It's makeup, I guess. But it makes me feel more confident and more able to face the day, even if I don't leave my house. There's just something about, okay, I've got this part together. And so that kind of makes me more organized inside to go do what I have to do.
And, you know, the converse of that, which I'll mention briefly, is that, you know, I was in Jameson's one time at the dinner hour, and I was with my wife and another couple, and some old guy walks in with a cut-off sweatshirt, sweaty, with his wife, and sits down to dinner, and he just looks miserable, and they never talk to each other. They hate each other, obviously. And I'm thinking to myself, you're bringing me down, dude, and I don't like that. Okay, so this guy will never know I'm talking about him because he's not interested in improving, okay? Not interested in being happy. But the thing is, if you're bringing other people down, that's when you need to do your attitude check. And we've all got people in our neighborhood we call Debbie Downer or somebody like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's my, you know, I guess my hint for the day is don't bring other people down.
But you know what? Take that a step further. Jameson's is within the compound, as people say. I call it the hood.
The hood.
But what about when you're outside the gates, and then you say, "I'm from Sun City,"
Right.
And, you know, and you're going like, "Oh, gee," you know. We really have to work on perception, because there's a certain perception that they have of Sun City residents, be right, wrong, or otherwise. But if we can do anything to leave a positive impression, our demeanor, our attitude, our appearance, then I think we all share in that responsibility. Because we are I like to say, a group to be recognized. And we want that positive representation.
Well, I've certainly been in situations where you say, they ask where you live, and you say Sun City, and they're immediately defensive and ready to brace up for a verbal assault almost. You know, have you ever run into that?
No,
Probably
I
not,
haven't.
but you don't go to the bars I go to.
I don't.
And so the other thing is,
I don't think she goes to bars.
if you diffuse that by being awfully kind and realizing they have a stressful job, whether they're a clerk or a bartender or whatever they're doing for you, man, I'll tell you, you get some good treatment after that.
Yeah,
You really do.
yeah, that's true.
And I think that's important to remember. And if you go in there, as you say, dress like a slob and act not as well as you normally do, then you got a problem.
Yeah, or if you don't tip well, or if you know, went over the cement barrier when you parked the car. I mean, all these things are a reflection of who we are.
Exactly.
I have a few things here I'd like to.
Sure.
Okay, first, you don't have to cheer up, solve the problem, or have a solution. And I think a lot of us tend to want to take care of it. That's me. what can I do to make it better? I got to make it better. And that's not my role. Sometimes it is just acknowledgement, just being there. Honor where they are. The best way to annoy a person in a bad mood is to tell them that they shouldn't be.
Yeah, no one
Now,
wants
that
to
may be
told.
true, but it's
Yeah.
not helpful. Give support, listen, try to help only if requested. If the harping continues, you may just have to get out of there and say, no, this is to yourself. This is kind of beyond me. Don't be sucked into it. Keep the emotional distance. And you can reflect, like in your case, Tina, you know, since you're in retail, you can say, oh, you know, I know it's really hard when a customer da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then I try to not take it personally. But it's a fine line. You don't really know where that person is sometimes. They may have made a decision in the morning that this is the last day they're going to be living. So, you know, it'd be nice to know that we may have intervened in a way that encourages them a little bit. But their negativity is not ours to be responsible to deal with. But we do have to kind of be kind, listen, wish them well, maybe just acknowledge that they're important. And if there's a compliment that will bring up their self-esteem in some way, if it's sincere, you know, we do it. It's little, but it might mean the world.
Well, I've got a good friend who, she's 72 now, and she says she's gotten to that grumpy syndrome that I've heard about. You know, I'll be there soon. And
I'm there.
But one of the things that I told her, I says, you seem to focus on a negative aspect of something rather than the positive. And I've noticed that lately. And she says, you know, you're right. And so I called her on it the other night, and it was about a restaurant and Chinese food and chicken. Go figure. Anyway, she says, I only eat certain things at Chinese restaurants because I don't know XYZ. I'm not going to, you know, espouse on what she said. I says, I've eaten at certain restaurants. I've had a good experience. I said, you know, that's her. But I said, when you started out with your comment, you started with a negative.
Well, it's like listening to pop culture news. You just shake your head and you get negative all instantaneously.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, all these crazy people and people believe in them and blah. Anyway, that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
So if you had an RX, a simple one-sentence recommendation to make an attitude adjustment, what would you do to change your own attitude or that of someone else? Any simple answer? You have referred to attitude, for example.
Well, I think we need to listen to ourselves when we speak. You know, if we don't hear ourselves, you know, your perception is reality. And if I'm giving out negativity unknowingly, then guess what? I set the scene for negativity. But if I give, you know, hey, how you doing, Margie? Hey, Doug, you know, what's new? I'm getting my coffee today, my $25 Haitian coffee that is good, and I'm worth it, then that's a different attitude.
How about you, Margie? Is there any silver bullet?
Oh, I just think that we need to take stock of ourselves. I think it's probably a daily thing. You know, get up in the morning. I mean, sometimes I wake up and think, oh, golly. And usually it's a day when I don't have anything planned that's productive.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, and I'm slow to get out of my pajamas. I'm slow, you know, 9 o'clock I might still be watching, you know, whatever comes on then. So I think it's almost like every day, and maybe the night before we say, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to get up. I have a purpose. I'm going to go for it. But I think it's, but if we want a lazy day now and then, and we pretend we're not home, and we don't put on makeup, that's great too. Let me tell you,
You
I
always give
encourage
yourself
that.
an out that way. Yeah?
Always give yourself now. But I think it's a daily, almost a decision. Do I want to exist today, or do I want abundance today?
Or you want to live today.
I want to live today. Well, I think a purposeful day is very important. But I also, and I'll flip to the other side, I'll just say you have to have an attitude of let it go or get over it. Because every day is going to give you an opportunity to come to that fork in the road where you can get mad about the person who didn't put on the turn signal, or you can get over it.
Choose your battles.
Choose your battles,
Point.
go the positive way on that road, and voila, you may end up being a happier person and having a better influence on somebody else. Certainly your spouse or significant other will like you better if you stop bitching and moaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you that. So, in any
Or your
event-
friends.
Well, our friend Larry Keelkoff has some thoughts on this whole subject. And Larry, what do you think?
Oh, gee.
I think I know what Margie, Doug, and Tina are talking about in the other room. Probably about how happiness is no accident. Truly happy people are known for forming strong social networks of friends and family. They practice an attitude of gratitude and stay focused on the positive. That's all certainly true, but I think there is something even more basic at work here than enlightened philosophy or the power of positive thinking. Listen up, because I'm about to lay it on you. Here it is. Happy people characteristically make fundamentally sound and obviously smart decisions. Unhappy people routinely make stupefyingly dumb ones, and they both tend to reap what they sow. In my highly infrequent visits to local traffic courts, I found them to be disproportionately populated by people equally disproportionately down on their luck. People who wore that look which said, "Yep, got another DUI. I don't know why these things keep happening to me. I just can't catch a break." It has been my experience that unhappy people often adopt the t-shirt mantra of, "If you're not living life on the edge, you're taking up too much room." And yet they still feel justified in cursing their bad luck when they fall into the abyss. Meanwhile, happy people seem to have a curious way of avoiding major burdens of stress simply by, among other things, eating right, getting regular exercise, and refusing to max out their credit cards. Gee, I wonder how they do it. And in that mass middle between the two extremes, the rest of us apparently have an on-again, off-again commitment to acting in our own best interests. I mean, I consider myself a happy person. I've been accused of having a sense of humor. It's why I was eager to do this segment on The Breeze. I'm definitely a glass half full kind of guy. But the fact is, and I am embarrassed to tell you this, I'm a lousy driver, and I know it. Many times I find myself to be in a terrible hurry, even when I clearly have no place important to go, nor the least bit of consequence surrounding what time I arrive. I'm grossly impatient on about 18 different levels. Sometimes even I think I must be out of my mind. Does that sound like anyone you know? On the other hand, thanks both to a Southern Baptist mother and my own conscious decision, the benefits of which seemed more than obvious to me, I have never smoked, drank, or used illegal drugs at any point in my life. And of all the things in my life, do you know what has brought me some of the greatest joy and satisfaction? Those 3 impactful decisions. Now please understand, I in no way condemn those who choose to use alcohol or tobacco products. I just know I'm glad I don't, even if I have no certain knowledge that abstinence has spared me from any specific trauma. I'm adequately persuaded of my wisdom by the pain I've seen others endure. At any rate, I'm Larry Keelkoff, and tonight, if you go to your knees in supplication to the good Lord before bringing your day to a close, I'd be much obliged if you would mention me by name. Join me in thanking Him for the happiness He has bestowed upon you and me both by virtue of our simply exercising whatever good sense He gave us as part of His original gift. And pray that He would further bless us with the good sense to use it more often. At the same time, if you happen to toss in a request that He find a way to keep me at home while you are out and about on the public roads, well, yeah, I get it. No offense taken. Whatever makes you happy.
And the only one that can adjust your attitude truly is yourself.
And you know what? At first, you may have to fake it until it becomes kind of part of your mode of operation.
A habit. Becomes
Like,
a good
okay, when
habit.
this starts happening, I'm going to just put it aside. I'm going to go read a comment, a joke. I mean, whatever. I'm going to be conscious of my attitude and try to change it. And maybe it becomes a habit after a while.
Yep.
It might even feel good.
Might even do it.
Absolutely.
Well, we've had a great discussion today, so maybe next month on The Breeze we'll continue this discussion, or we'll come up with something new and interesting. Until then, we hope you do well, but please join us again next month as we again shoot the breeze.
The breeze.
Thank you.